My name is Mavis Henderson, and I'm 66 years old. 3 months ago, my husband of 42 years tried to kill me. He poisoned my food, sabotaged my medication, and when that didn't work fast enough, he paid someone to stage a robbery that would end with me dead. He thought I would die quietly. He thought no one would ever know what he'd done. But I survived. And on a cold November evening, I stood outside the door of the house we'd shared for decades. The house he thought was now his alone, and I knocked. Let me tell you about that moment. About the look on Thaddeus Henderson's face when he opened the door and saw me standing there. About how his knees literally buckled beneath him and he collapsed to the floor, staring at me like I was a ghost risen from the grave. If this story already has you hooked, please subscribe to our channel right now and hit that notification bell. We bring you the most powerful, emotional stories every day, and you don't want to miss what happens next. Also, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from: USA, UK, Canada, Jamaica. We love knowing our global family is with us. Now, let me take you back to that doorway, to the moment everything changed. It was 7:30 p.m. on November 15th. I'd been watching the house for 3 days, learning Thaddeus's routine. I knew he was home alone. I knew he'd just finished dinner, probably one of those frozen meals he'd always refused to eat when I was cooking for him. I was wearing the same coat I'd been wearing the night of the robbery, the night I was supposed to die. The coat still had blood on it, my blood. I wanted him to see it. I raised my hand and knocked. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I heard footsteps inside, heard him mumbling, probably annoyed at being interrupted during his evening TV time. The door opened. Thaddeus stood there in his house slippers and old sweater, holding a beer, looking irritated. Then he saw me. The beer bottle slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. His face went from irritated to confused to absolutely terrified in the span of 3 seconds. "Hello, Thaddeus," I said calmly. "Surprised to see me." Mavis," his voice cracked, "but you're supposed to be." "Dead," I finished for him. "Yes, I know, that was the plan, wasn't it?" His eyes went wide. His mouth opened and closed like a fish, and then his knees buckled. Thaddeus Henderson, the man who tried to murder me, collapsed to the floor right there in the doorway, his legs giving out completely. He sat there on the floor, staring up at me, shaking like a leaf. How are you alive?" he whispered. I smiled, a cold, hard smile with no warmth in it. "That's a very long story, Thaddeus. And before this is over, you're going to know every detail of how I survived. Every moment I spent fighting for my life while you were here, comfortable and safe, thinking you'd gotten away with it." I stepped over the broken glass and walked into my house, because it was still legally my house, even if Thaddeus thought he owned it now. He scrambled backward on the floor, terror written all over his face. "Mavis, I don't know what you think happened, but—" "Don't," I interrupted, my voice sharp as a knife. "Don't you dare lie to me, not now, not after everything." I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a small recorder. I pressed play. Thaddeus's voice filled the room. "I need her gone, permanently. Make it look like a robbery. I don't care how you do it, just make sure she doesn't survive." Another voice responded. "It'll cost you $50,000. "Fine, just get it done." I stopped the recording. Thaddeus's face had gone completely white. "That's your voice, isn't it, Thaddeus? Hearing someone to kill your wife of 42 years. He couldn't speak, just stared at me like his worst nightmare had come true. Because it had. But to understand how we got here, to understand why a man would try to murder the woman he'd promised to love forever, you need to hear the whole story. You need to know who we were, what we had, and what Thaddeus did to destroy it all. I met Thaddeus Henderson when I was 24 years old. I was working as a bank teller in downtown Atlanta, and he came in one day to open a business account. He was 26, charming, ambitious, with big dreams of starting his own accounting firm. We talked while I processed his paperwork. He made me laugh, asked me out right there at the bank counter. I said yes. We dated for 6 months, and then he proposed. I was so happy. Thaddeus seemed like everything I'd ever wanted. Smart, hardworking, respectful, kind. We got married in a small ceremony at my grandmother's church. It was beautiful. I wore my mother's wedding dress. Thaddeus wore a suit he'd saved up for months to buy. We were poor but in love, and we believed that was enough. The first 20 years of our marriage were good, really good. Thaddeus's accounting firm grew slowly but steadily. I quit my bank job when we had our daughter, Clementine. We bought a small house in a decent neighborhood. We built a life together. Thaddeus worked long hours, but he always came home for dinner. He was a good father to Clementine. He remembered anniversaries and birthdays. He told me he loved me. I thought we were happy. But looking back now, I can see the cracks that started forming around year 25. Small things at first. Thaddeus working even longer hours. Coming home smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. Phone calls he'd take in another room. When I asked about it, he'd get defensive. "Why are you questioning me, Mavis? Don't you trust me?" And because I'd been married to him for 25 years, because I'd built my whole life around him, I swallowed my suspicions and said yes, I trusted him. I shouldn't have. When we'd been married 35 years, I found out about the first affair. Her name was Opal. She was a client of his firm, a widow with money who needed help with her taxes. Thaddeus had been helping her with much more than taxes for 3 years. I was devastated, heartbroken. I confronted him, crying, asking why he'd betray me like that. Thaddeus cried too, apologized, swore it was a mistake, promised it would never happen again. "I love you, Mavis," he said, holding my hands. "You're my wife, my partner. I was stupid and weak, but it's over now. Please forgive me." I forgave him, because that's what I'd been taught to do. Stand by your husband. Keep your family together. Work through the hard times. But it wasn't over. 2 years later, I found evidence of another affair. And another one after that. By the time we'd been married 40 years, I'd caught Thaddeus cheating at least 5 times, and those were just the ones I knew about. Each time he apologized. Each time he promised to change. Each time I believed him because I didn't know what else to do. Our daughter Clementine begged me to leave him. "Mama, he doesn't respect you. He's never going to change. You deserve better than this." But I was 63 years old. I'd been with Thaddeus since I was 24. I didn't know how to be anyone except Thaddeus Henderson's wife. Then 2 years ago, something changed. Thaddeus became different, colder, more distant. He stopped apologizing for the affairs, stopped pretending to care about our marriage. "We're only staying together because divorce is expensive," he told me bluntly one night. "Don't get any ideas about leaving. You'll get nothing." I was hurt but not surprised. Our marriage had been dead for years. We were just 2 people living in the same house, going through the motions. But I didn't know that Thaddeus had already decided I was more valuable to him dead than alive. It started with small things I didn't notice at first. My blood pressure medication had been switched, same bottle, different pills. I started feeling dizzy, weak, confused. When I went to the doctor, he was alarmed. "Mrs. Henderson, you're taking 3 times your normal dosage. Who prescribed this increase?" "Nobody," I said, confused. "I'm taking the same pills I've always taken." But when the doctor tested them, we discovered they weren't my regular medication at all. Someone had replaced my pills with a much stronger dose, enough to cause serious harm if I kept taking them. "This could have killed you," the doctor said. "Who has access to your medications?" "Only Thaddeus, only my husband." I confronted him. He acted shocked, concerned. "Maybe the pharmacy made a mistake. You should sue them." But I knew, deep in my gut I knew. Thaddeus wanted me dead. I started paying closer attention, watching him, and I saw things that terrified me. He was researching accidental deaths online, looking up heart attack symptoms, reading about how to poison someone without getting caught. I checked our bank accounts, something I'd never done before because Thaddeus handled all our finances. What I found made me sick. Thaddeus had been hiding money for years. He had secret accounts I didn't know about. He'd been moving assets out of our joint names and into his name only. And I found a life insurance policy, on me, for $500,000, taken out just 3 months ago. Thaddeus was planning to kill me and collect the insurance money. I should have gone to the police right then. Should have left him, divorced him, protected myself. But I was scared. I didn't have proof, just suspicions and circumstantial evidence, and I didn't know who to trust. So I did something else. I started documenting everything. I took photos of the medications he'd switched. I made copies of the bank records showing the hidden accounts. I recorded conversations when Thaddeus thought I wasn't listening. And on September 2nd, I recorded the conversation that would eventually save my life. The conversation where Thaddeus hired someone to kill me. I'd hidden a small voice recorder in his office, and that night, I heard him on the phone with someone arranging my murder, offering $50,000 to make it look like a robbery. I was terrified. This wasn't just my imagination or paranoia. My husband had actually hired someone to kill me. I called Clementine. "Baby, I need your help. Your father is trying to kill me." Clementine believed me immediately. She'd always known what kind of man her father really was. "Mama, you need to leave. Tonight, come stay with me." "I will, but first, I need to get evidence to the police. I need to make sure he goes to prison for this." That was my mistake. I should have just left. Should have run as far away as possible. Instead, I stayed. And 3 days later, the man Thaddeus had hired came for me. It was a Tuesday evening. Thaddeus had made an excuse about working late, which I now knew meant he was giving his hired killer a clear window to attack me. I was in the kitchen, about to call the police with all my evidence, when I heard the back door crash open. A man in a ski mask ran into the kitchen with a knife. I screamed and ran, but he was faster. He grabbed me and we struggled. The knife slashed my arm, my shoulder. I fell to the floor, blood pouring from my wounds. The man stood over me, knife raised, ready to finish the job. Then I heard sirens. Someone had called the police, our neighbor, who'd heard me scream. The man in the ski mask panicked and ran out the way he'd come. I lay there on the kitchen floor, bleeding, barely conscious, thinking, this is how I die. After 42 years of marriage, my husband is going to kill me, and everyone will think it was just a random robbery. But I didn't die. The paramedics arrived in time. They rushed me to the hospital. The doctors said I'd lost a lot of blood but would survive. And that's when I made my plan. Because if Thaddeus thought I was dead, or at least that I'd die soon from my injuries, maybe he'd let his guard down. Maybe he'd make mistakes. Maybe I could gather enough evidence to put him in prison forever. So I did something crazy, something dangerous, something that nobody would expect from a 66-year-old grandmother. I faked my own death. It wasn't hard to fake my death, not when the hospital staff believed I was in danger. I told the police everything, showed them the recordings, the bank documents, the evidence I'd collected. They were horrified. "Mrs. Henderson, you're in serious danger," Detective Wilhelmina Brooks said. "We can protect you, but we need more evidence to arrest your husband. The recording helps, but we need to catch him in the act, either with the money exchange or with clear proof of conspiracy to commit murder." "What if he thinks I'm dead?" I asked. "Would he feel safe enough to do something stupid?" Detective Brooks thought about it. "It's risky. But yes, if he believes you're dead, he might try to collect the insurance money or contact his hired killer. That would give us the evidence we need." So that's what we did. With the hospital's help, we announced that Mavis Henderson had died from complications from her injuries. We even wrote a death certificate, fake, but convincing. Thaddeus came to the hospital when they called to tell him his wife had died. I watched from a hidden room as he put on a show, crying, acting devastated, playing the grieving husband perfectly. But the moment he left the hospital, his face changed. The fake tears dried up, and he smiled. He actually smiled, because his wife was dead. I watched through a police camera as Thaddeus drove home, pulled out his phone, and made a call. "It's done. She's dead. When can I get my money back?" The man on the other end, the killer he'd hired, said, Not until you pay me the rest of what you owe. Fine, meet me tomorrow night. I'll have the cash. Detective Brooks looked at me. We've got him. Tomorrow night, when he pays the killer, we'll arrest them both. But I wanted more than just an arrest. I wanted Thaddeus to know, to really know, what he'd done, what he'd tried to do to me, what he'd lost. Before you arrest him, I said, I want to confront him. I want to look him in the eye and let him know I survived. Detective Brooks hesitated. That's not protocol, Mrs. Henderson, and it could be dangerous. I've been in danger for 2 years. I've earned the right to face my husband and show him that I'm not the weak, helpless woman he thought I was. Finally, she agreed. We'll wire you up. We'll have officers stationed all around the house. The moment anything goes wrong, we move in. But Mavis, are you sure about this? I was sure, more sure than I'd been about anything in my life. So that's how I ended up on Thaddeus's doorstep 3 days after my death, knocking on the door of the house we'd shared for 40 years. That's how I ended up standing over my husband as he collapsed to the floor, his face white with terror, realizing that his plan had failed. That's how I ended up saying the words I'd dreamed about for 3 months. Hello, Thaddeus, surprised to see me. Now, standing in my own living room with my husband cowering on the floor, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Power. But this was just the beginning, because Thaddeus didn't know about the police listening to every word. He didn't know about the wire I was wearing. He didn't know that in less than an hour, his entire world would come crashing down. And most importantly, he didn't know what I'd discovered while I was dead. Secrets that would destroy not just him, but everything he'd built. Get up, Thaddeus, I said coldly. We have a lot to talk about, and this time you're going to tell me the truth, all of it. Thaddeus struggled to his feet, using the wall for support. His face was still pale, his hands shaking. Mavis, I can explain. Explain, I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. Explain how you tried to kill your wife of 42 years. Explain how you poisoned my medication. Explain how you hired a man to stab me to death in my own kitchen. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Thaddeus? Please, enlighten me. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you wanted me dead so you could collect my life insurance and move on with your life. Thaddeus's eyes darted toward the door. He was thinking about running. Don't even think about it, I said. You're not going anywhere until we're done here. He swallowed hard. What do you want from me? The truth, starting with why. Why, after 42 years of marriage, did you decide I needed to die? Thaddeus was quiet for a long moment. Then, finally, he spoke, and what he said made my blood run cold. Because you were in the way. In the way of what? He looked at me with cold, dead eyes. In the way of my new life, my real life, the life I should have had all along. What are you talking about? Thaddeus smiled, a cruel, ugly smile. Did you really think I was going to spend my retirement with you? An old woman who let herself go, who bores me to tears, who has nothing to offer me anymore. I have someone else, Mavis, someone younger, more exciting, someone who actually appreciates me. The words hurt. Even though I'd known about the affairs, even though our marriage had been dead for years, hearing him say it so bluntly still cut deep. So you tried to kill me, I said slowly, because you wanted to be with another woman. Why not just divorce me? Because divorce would cost me half of everything I've built. The business, the investments, the house, you'd get half. And I couldn't let that happen. You didn't earn any of it. You were just there, taking up space in my life. I felt tears threatening but forced them back. I wouldn't cry. Not now, not in front of him. Who is she? I asked. This woman worth killing for. Thaddeus hesitated. Then he said a name that made my world stop spinning. Her name is Opal, the same Opal from years ago. We never really broke up, Mavis. We've been together this whole time, and she's pregnant with my child. I staggered backward, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. Thaddeus, my husband, had been living a double life for years, with the same woman I'd forgiven him for before, and now she was having his baby. How long? I whispered. How long has this been going on? Does it matter? How long? 7 years, he admitted. 7 years of planning our future together. 7 years of waiting for the right moment to get rid of you. And I was so close. If that neighbor hadn't called the police, if you just died like you were supposed to. He stopped, realizing he'd said too much. But it was enough, more than enough. Because every word he said was being recorded by the wire I was wearing. Every confession, every admission of guilt was being heard by Detective Brooks and her team. And in about 30 seconds, they were going to burst through that door and arrest him. I just had one more question first. Tell me something, Thaddeus. When you heard I was dead, how did you feel? Did you feel anything at all, or were you just happy to finally be free of me? Thaddeus looked at me with those cold, dead eyes. I felt relieved. That was the moment the door burst open. 6 police officers rushed in, guns drawn. Police, Thaddeus Henderson, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. Thaddeus's face went from smug to terrified in an instant. What? No, this is a setup. They threw him to the ground and cuffed him. As they read him his rights, Detective Brooks walked over to me. You okay, Mavis? I nodded, unable to speak. I'd done it. I'd gotten him to confess everything, and now he was going to pay. As they led Thaddeus away, he looked back at me one more time. You won't get away with this. I'll fight this. You'll go to prison, I said calmly. For a very long time. And Thaddeus, I hope every single day you're locked up you remember this moment. Remember the wife you tried to kill. The woman who survived and destroyed you. They took him away. And I stood there in my house, finally free. But the story wasn't over, not by a long shot. Because what I hadn't told Thaddeus yet, what he was about to find out, was that while I was dead, I'd been very busy. I'd been unraveling his entire life. His business, his finances, his relationship with Opal, everything. And what I found was going to destroy him in ways he never imagined. If you're on the edge of your seat right now, we need you to do something. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on those notifications. This story is about to get even more intense. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and what you think of Mavis so far. Is she a hero or did she go too far? We're reading every comment. Let's go. The night Thaddeus was arrested, I didn't go home. I couldn't. That house, the house where I'd almost died, where I'd spent 42 years with a man who wanted me dead, didn't feel like mine anymore. Instead, I stayed with my daughter Clementine. She'd been waiting at her house when the police brought me there after the arrest. The moment I walked through her door, she wrapped me in the tightest hug I'd ever felt. Mama, oh my God, Mama, you're alive. You're really alive. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. I'm here, baby. I'm okay. I thought I'd lost you when they told me you were in the hospital, that you might not make it. And then they said you were dead. Clementine pulled back and looked at me, her face wet with tears. Why didn't you tell me the plan? Why did you let me think you were really gone? Because if you knew I was alive, you might have accidentally let something slip. Your father needed to believe I was dead for the plan to work. She hugged me again. Don't you ever do that to me again. Do you understand? Don't you ever make me bury you when you're not really dead. I promise, baby, never again. We sat up most of that night, talking. I told her everything, about the poisoned medication, the recordings, the hired killer, Thaddeus's confession about Opal and the baby. Clementine's face grew darker with each revelation. He was going to kill you. My own father was going to murder you. How? How do you even process something like that? I don't know yet, I admitted. Right now, I'm just focused on making sure he pays for what he did. What happens next? Will there be a trial? Yes, and Clementine. There's more. Things I discovered while I was dead that I haven't told anyone yet. Things that are going to come out in court. What kind of things? I took a deep breath. Things that will destroy your father completely. Things that will send him to prison for much longer than just attempted murder. The next morning, Detective Brooks came to Clementine's house with updates. Mrs. Henderson, Mavis, we've charged Thaddeus with conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and solicitation of murder. With the recording you got last night, plus the evidence you collected earlier, the DA thinks we have a very strong case. What about the man he hired, the one who attacked me? We arrested him this morning. His name is Silas Cromwell, a career criminal with a record for assault and battery. When we picked him up, we found $50,000 in cash hidden in his apartment. He's already agreed to testify against Thaddeus in exchange for a reduced sentence. How reduced? I asked sharply. 15 years instead of 30. I know it's not ideal, but his testimony will be crucial in proving conspiracy. I nodded, though I hated the idea of my attacker getting any kind of deal. There's something else, Detective Brooks said. We've been looking into Thaddeus's finances, and we found some irregularities. Large cash withdrawals over the past 2 years. Unexplained transfers to offshore accounts. It looks like he's been hiding a lot of money. This was my moment, the moment I'd been waiting for. I know about the hidden money, I said, and I know where it came from. While I was dead, I did some investigating of my own, and what I found. Detective, my husband hasn't just been trying to kill me. He's been stealing from his clients for years. Detective Brooks sat up straighter. What? I pulled out a folder I'd been keeping. A folder full of documents, bank records, emails, and evidence I'd collected during those 3 months when I was supposed to be dead. Thaddeus runs an accounting firm. He handles taxes and finances for about 50 clients, mostly wealthy individuals and small businesses. What he's been doing is skimming money from their accounts. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. He'd alter their financial statements to cover it up, pocket the difference, and his clients never knew. I spread the documents across Clementine's dining room table. Detective Brooks started reading, her eyes getting wider with each page. This is embezzlement, she said. Major embezzlement. Mavis, how did you get all this? I still had access to Thaddeus's office computer. The passwords, the files. After I died, I hired a private investigator, a woman named Beatrice Walsh, to help me dig into his business. We found everything. How much money are we talking about? Over $2 million, stolen from his clients over the past 8 years. Detective Brooks let out a low whistle. Mavis, this changes everything. This isn't just attempted murder anymore. This is financial fraud on a massive scale. When the DA sees this, they're going to throw the book at him. Good, I said firmly. I want him to lose everything, just like he tried to make me lose everything. There's more, I continued, pulling out another set of documents. The house Thaddeus has been living in, the one we shared for 40 years, he remortgaged it 3 times without telling me, took out over $300,000 in loans against it, and he used that money to buy a second house in Opal's name. Clementine gasped. He bought his mistress a house. A very nice house. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, swimming pool, worth about $600,000, all paid for with money he stole from me and his clients. I can't believe this, Clementine said, her voice shaking with anger. How could he do this? How could my own father be such a monster? I reached over and took her hand. I'm sorry, baby. I know this is hard. He's your father and finding out who he really is. No, Clementine interrupted, tears streaming down her face. He's not my father anymore. A father doesn't try to murder his child's mother. A father doesn't steal and cheat and lie for years. That man who got arrested last night, he's not my father. He's a stranger. Detective Brooks cleared her throat gently. Mavis, with this new evidence, I need to bring in federal investigators. Embezzlement, wire fraud, money laundering, these are federal crimes. The FBI is going to want to be involved. Do whatever you need to do, I said. I want Thaddeus prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Over the next 2 weeks, everything unraveled fast. The FBI raided Thaddeus's office and seized all his records. They interviewed his clients, many of whom were shocked to discover they'd been robbed. They froze all his bank accounts, including the offshore ones. And they went after Opal. Turns out, Opal wasn't just Thaddeus's mistress. She was his accomplice. The FBI discovered that Opal had been helping Thaddeus launder the stolen money. She'd set up fake companies, created false invoices, and moved money around to hide its source. She knew exactly what Thaddeus was doing, and she'd been profiting from it for years. The house Thaddeus bought her, paid for with stolen money. The car she drove, stolen money. The designer clothes and jewelry, all stolen money. Opal was arrested 2 weeks after Thaddeus. And suddenly, her pregnancy didn't seem so romantic anymore. It was just another part of their criminal enterprise. 1 month after Thaddeus's arrest, I went to see him in jail. I know what you're thinking. Why would I want to see the man who tried to kill me? But I had my reasons, things I needed to say, questions that needed answers. Thaddeus was brought into the visiting room in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. He looked terrible, thinner, older, with dark circles under his eyes. Prison was not being kind to him. When he saw me, his face hardened. "What do you want?" "To look you in the eye and ask you some questions." "I don't have to answer anything. My lawyer says I shouldn't talk to you." "Your lawyer is right, but I think you'll want to hear what I have to say." I pulled out a folder, yet another folder full of secrets. "Do you know what I did while you thought I was dead, Thaddeus? I went through 42 years of our life together. Our bank records, our tax returns, our financial statements. And I found something very interesting." Thaddeus tried to look bored, but I saw the flicker of fear in his eyes. "Remember when Clementine was 12, and you said we couldn't afford to send her to that private school she wanted to go to? Remember when I wanted to visit my sick mother, but you said we didn't have money for plane tickets? Remember all those times you told me we needed to save money, be careful with spending?" "What's your point, Mavis?" "My point is that we had plenty of money. You were already stealing from your clients back then. You had hundreds of thousands of dollars hidden away. But you let me think we were struggling. You let me scrimp and save and go without things I needed. Why?" Thaddeus was quiet for a moment. Then he shrugged. "Because I wanted the money for myself, for my future, not for you or for Clementine." The casual cruelty of his words took my breath away. "So you were planning to leave us even back then, when our daughter was 12. "I was planning my exit strategy, yes. It just took longer than I expected." "Why didn't you just leave? Why stay married to someone you clearly hated?" "Because leaving would have cost me money. Divorce means splitting assets. It was cheaper to just stay married and live my real life in secret with Opal. Until you decided it would be even cheaper to kill me." Thaddeus didn't deny it. The life insurance policy was Opal's idea, actually. She said if you died, I could collect $500,000 and we could start fresh. No messy divorce, no splitting assets, just a clean break. I felt sick, so it was her idea to kill me. "It was a joint decision. We both agreed you were. An obstacle that needed to be removed." I looked at this man, this stranger wearing my husband's face, and I realized I'd never really known him at all. 42 years of marriage, and I'd been sleeping next to a monster the entire time. "There's one more thing I need to tell you," I said quietly. "Something I discovered that you don't know about yet." "What?" I leaned forward. "Clementine isn't going to visit you, ever. She's cut you out of her life completely. She's changed her last name legally. She's no longer a Henderson. And your future grandchildren, they'll never know you existed. As far as our family is concerned, you died the day you tried to kill me." Thaddeus's face crumbled. For the first time since I'd seen him in jail, he showed real emotion, not anger or fear, but grief. "Clementine, my daughter, is not your daughter anymore. You lost that right when you decided to murder her mother." I stood up to leave, but before I walked away, I had one more thing to say. "Oh, and Thaddeus, that baby Opal is carrying, I did some research. She's been pregnant twice before, once when you were supposedly broken up with her 15 years ago and once about 10 years ago. Want to guess what happened to those bobbies?" Thaddeus looked up at me, confused. "She got abortions, both times, because she didn't actually want children with you. She wanted your money." I smiled coldly. "I wonder what she'll do with this baby now that you're broke and going to prison. My guess, she's already scheduled the appointment to get rid of it." Thaddeus's face went white. "No, she wouldn't. She loves me. She's having my baby because she loves me. She loved your money, Thaddeus, and now that the money's gone, so is her love. The FBI interviewed her yesterday. She's already making a deal. She's going to testify against you in exchange for a reduced sentence. She's going to tell the court everything. Every crime you committed. Every illegal thing you did together. She's throwing you under the bus to save herself. That's not true. You're lying. Am I? Ask your lawyer. Ask him about Opal's deal with the prosecutors. Ask him how many years you're looking at now that your accomplice is testifying against you. I turned to leave, but Thaddeus called after me. Mavis, wait, please. I stopped and looked back at him. I'm sorry, he said, and for the first time he sounded genuine. I'm so sorry for everything, for the affairs, for the stealing, for trying to kill you. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please, please forgive me. I looked at this broken man, this criminal who tried to end my life, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no pity. Just nothing. No, I said simply. I don't forgive you, and I never will. You're going to spend the rest of your life in prison, Thaddeus. And every day you're locked up, I want you to remember that you did this to yourself. You destroyed your own life because you were greedy and selfish and cruel. This is your fault, all of it. I walked out of that jail and didn't look back. 2 weeks later, I got a phone call that changed everything again. It was Detective Brooks. Mavis, I need you to come to the police station. Right away. It's urgent. What's wrong? I can't explain over the phone. Just get here as fast as you can. I drove to the station with my heart pounding, wondering what could possibly be wrong now. When I arrived, Detective Brooks led me to her office and closed the door. Mavis, we have a problem, a big problem. What kind of problem? Thaddeus tried to hire someone to kill you. Again, from inside the jail. My blood ran cold. What? He contacted a cellmate, a man named Cornelius Banks who was being released on parole. Thaddeus offered him $50,000 to find you and finish what Silas Cromwell started. Except this time, he wanted to make sure you were really dead. He told Cornelius to make it look like a home invasion and not to leave until he confirmed you were dead. I felt dizzy. He tried to have me killed again, even after being arrested, even knowing I have all the evidence against him. He's desperate and angry. His trial is coming up in 3 months, and he knows he's going to lose. He knows he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. So he figured if you were dead, maybe the case would fall apart. Maybe some of the evidence would be inadmissible. Maybe he'd have a chance. Did he pay this Cornelius person? No, because Cornelius came to us immediately and told us about the offer. He's wearing a wire now, and we're using him to get more evidence against Thaddeus. But Mavis, this means you're still in danger. We need to put you in protective custody until the trial is over. Protective custody? You mean hiding, living in fear? I mean keeping you alive. If Thaddeus is willing to try again from inside a jail cell, he's more dangerous than we thought. We need to take this seriously. I sat down heavily, trying to process this new nightmare. My husband, my ex-husband, was so determined to kill me that he was still trying even from behind bars. How long would I need to be in protective custody? Until after the trial, maybe 3 to 4 months. 4 months of hiding, 4 months of looking over my shoulder, 4 months of letting Thaddeus control my life even from prison. No, I was done hiding, done being afraid. What if we used me as bait? I asked. Detective Brooks looked at me like I was crazy. Absolutely not. That's way too dangerous. But what if we could catch whoever Thaddeus sends after me? What if we could get him on camera, recorded, trying to hire yet another killer? That would be more evidence for the trial, right? That would prove how dangerous he is. Mavis, I can't allow you to put yourself in danger like that. If something went wrong. Something already went wrong. My husband tried to kill me and almost succeeded. I'm not going to spend 4 months hiding in some safe house, terrified, while he keeps making plans to murder me. I want to fight back. I want to be the one setting the trap this time. Detective Brooks was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Finally, she said, "Let me talk to my supervisor and the DA. And this is a big if, we decide to do this, you'd be wired up, we'd have agents watching you 24/7, and the moment things got dangerous, we'd pull you out. Clear. Clear. 2 days later, we set the trap. The plan was simple but risky. Cornelius would tell Thaddeus he'd found me and was ready to do the job. Thaddeus would give him instructions on where and when to kill me, and we'd catch it all on tape. Then, when the hired killer showed up to attack me, the police would be waiting. Cornelius went to visit Thaddeus in jail, wearing a wire. I listened from the police station as they talked. "I found her," Cornelius said. "She's living with her daughter. I've been watching the house. She's there most nights." "Good," Thaddeus said, his voice cold and calculating. "I need you to do this soon, before the trial. The faster, the better." "What's my payment?" "I have money hidden that the FBI didn't find. Once you do the job and show me proof, photos, a news article, something, I'll tell you where to find it. $50,000 like I promised." "How do I know you're not lying about the money?" "Because if I'm lying, you can tell the police everything, and I'll get even more prison time. I need you to do this, Cornelius. I need her dead." "Okay, I'll do it tomorrow night." Tomorrow night. That meant I had 24 hours to prepare. I went home to Clementine's house and explained the plan to her. She was terrified. "Mama, no, this is too dangerous. What if something goes wrong? What if the police don't get there in time?" "They'll be right outside, baby. Nothing is going to happen to me." "You can't promise that. Mama, you already almost died once. I can't lose you." "You won't lose me, I promise. But Clementine, I need to do this. I need to help put your father away forever. If we don't get more evidence, if he somehow gets a good lawyer and gets off on a technicality, I'll never be safe. He'll keep trying to kill me until he succeeds. This is my chance to end it, for good." Clementine cried, but eventually she agreed. "But I'm staying with you, every step of the way. If you're going to be bait, I'm going to be right there." "Absolutely not. I won't put you in danger." "Too late, Mama. You're my mother. Where you go, I go." We argued for an hour, but eventually I gave in. Clementine was as stubborn as me. The next night, I sat in my daughter's living room, wearing a wire, waiting for a killer to come try to murder me. Police officers were stationed all around the house, in cars up the street, in the backyard, in the neighbor's house. Snipers on nearby rooftops. Detective Brooks was in a van 2 houses down, listening to everything. Clementine sat next to me on the couch, holding my hand so tight it hurt. "It's going to be okay," I told her, though I wasn't sure I believed it myself. "What if he has a gun? What if he shoots you before the police can stop him? Then the police will stop him before he can shoot again." That wasn't comforting, and we both knew it. At exactly 10 p.m., the time Cornelius had told Thaddeus he would attack, the front door burst open. But it wasn't Cornelius who came through that door. It was Opal. And she was holding a gun. Oh my God, did you see that twist coming? If your heart is racing right now, smash that like button and subscribe immediately. Turn on all notifications and drop a comment right now. Where are you watching from? And did you expect Opal to show up? We need to know. This story is about to get even crazier. Don't miss it. Clementine screamed. I pulled her behind me, putting my body between her and the gun. "Opal," I said, trying to keep my voice calm even though my heart was pounding. "Put the gun down." Opal was shaking, tears streaming down her face. Her pregnant belly was clearly visible now. She looked nothing like the confident, polished woman from the photos I'd seen. She looked desperate, broken. "I'm not here to kill you," she said, her voice cracking. "I'm here to save you." "What?" I was so confused. "You're pointing a gun at me." "Because I knew the police were watching the house. I knew if I didn't make it look real, they'd stop me before I could warn you." Opal lowered the gun slightly. "Please, Mrs. Henderson, you have to listen to me. Thaddeus didn't just hire Cornelius. He hired someone else too, someone the police don't know about. And that person is coming here tonight to kill us both." "Both? What are you talking about?" "Thaddeus doesn't just want you dead anymore," Opal sobbed. "He wants me dead too, Because I made a deal with the FBI. Because I'm testifying against him. He found out, and now he's hired someone to kill both of us and make it look like I murdered you and then killed myself. My mind was racing. Was this a trick? Was Opal trying to manipulate me? But the terror in her eyes looked real. Suddenly, Detective Brooks's voice came through the wire I was wearing. Mavis, we're coming in. Stay calm. The front door burst open again, and 6 police officers rushed in, guns drawn. Drop the weapon, they shouted at Opal. Opal immediately dropped the gun and put her hands up. Please, you have to listen to me. There's another killer coming. Thaddeus hired a professional, someone from out of state. He's supposed to arrive any minute. Detective Brooks entered, her gun trained on Opal. Get on the ground, now. Opal dropped to her knees, crying. Please believe me, I'm trying to help. Thaddeus's cellmate, Cornelius, he told me about the plan. There's a second killer, a backup in case Cornelius failed. Detective Brooks looked at me. Mavis, are you okay? I'm fine, but Detective, I think she's telling the truth. How do you know? Because she's terrified. And because Thaddeus would absolutely have a backup plan. He's too careful to rely on just one person. Detective Brooks spoke into her radio. All units, possible second threat en route. Everyone stay alert. She turned to Opal. If you're telling the truth, you need to tell us everything. Right now, who is this second killer? Opal was shaking so hard she could barely speak. His name is Augustus Kane. He's a hitman from Chicago. Thaddeus paid him $100,000, money from one of his hidden accounts that the FBI didn't find. Augustus is supposed to make it look like I came here, shot you, and then shot myself. A murder-suicide. That way, Thaddeus gets rid of both of us and the case against him falls apart because his 2 main witnesses are dead. How do you know all this? Detective Brooks demanded. Because Cornelius told me. He came to see me yesterday. Said Thaddeus was suspicious of me, that he knew I was cooperating with the FBI. Cornelius warned me that Augustus Kane was already in town, watching me, waiting for the right moment. I came here to warn Mrs. Henderson, but I knew if I just walked up normally, the police would stop me. So I brought the gun to make it look like I was really here to kill her. That way, I could get inside and warn everyone. It was the craziest story I'd ever heard. But looking at Opal's face, at the genuine terror there, I believed her. We need to get everyone out of here, I said. If this Augustus person is really coming. Nobody's going anywhere, Detective Brooks said. If he's coming, we're ready for him, and now we have Opal here as an extra witness. She looked at Opal. Are you willing to testify about this second murder plot? Yes, I'll testify about everything. I'm done protecting Thaddeus. He tried to kill our baby. Opal's hand went to her pregnant belly. I thought he loved me. I thought we were building a life together, but he was just using me the whole time. And now he wants both me and the baby dead. Clementine, who'd been quiet this whole time, spoke up. So you really are pregnant with his baby? Opal nodded miserably. Yes, and I know what you must think of me. I'm the woman who broke up your parents' marriage, but Mrs. Henderson, Mavis, you need to know something. Thaddeus told me you were abusive. He said you made his life miserable, that you stole money from him, that you were trying to ruin his business. He made himself out to be the victim. And you believed him? I asked. I did. For years, I believed every word. But then I started noticing things that didn't add up. The way he talked about you didn't match the woman I'd heard about from other people. Everyone who knew you said you were kind, hardworking, devoted, not the monster Thaddeus described. And when I found out he was planning to kill you, Opal's voice broke. I realized I'd been the fool. I'd been the one helping a monster destroy an innocent woman. I looked at this woman who'd been sleeping with my husband for years, who'd helped him steal and hide money, who'd been part of the plan to kill me, and I saw something unexpected. I saw another victim. Opal, I said quietly, did Thaddeus ever hurt you? Physically, I mean. She nodded, new tears falling. Many times, if I questioned him if I didn't do what he wanted, if I talked about leaving, he'd hit me, choke me, lock me in a room until I apologized. I was so scared of him, but I didn't know how to escape. He controlled all the money. He knew where my family lived. He said if I ever left him, he'd make sure I lost everything. It all made sense now. Opal wasn't the villain I'd thought she was. She was another one of Thaddeus's victims, manipulated, abused, trapped. "I'm sorry," I said. "I'm sorry he did that to you." Opal looked at me with surprise. You're apologizing to me after everything I did to you. You were being abused and controlled. That doesn't excuse what you did, but I understand it better now." Before Opal could respond, Detective Brooks's radio crackled. "We have movement. Black sedan, no plates, parked 3 houses down. Male driver, approximately 6'2", wearing dark clothes. Could be our guy." Detective Brooks immediately switched into command mode. "Everyone take positions. Mavis, Clementine, Opal, go upstairs. Lock yourselves in the bathroom. Don't come out until I tell you it's safe." "But," I started. "Now." The 3 of us ran upstairs. It was surreal. Me, my daughter, and my husband's pregnant mistress, all hiding in a bathroom together while a hitman hunted us. We heard shouting from downstairs. "Police, freeze." Then gunshots, 3 loud bangs that made us all scream. More shouting, sounds of a struggle, then silence. The silence was worse than the gunshots. Clementine was sobbing. Opal was praying. I just sat there, frozen, waiting. Finally, Detective Brooks's voice came from outside the bathroom door. "Mavis, it's safe. You can come out." We opened the door. Detective Brooks looked exhausted but relieved. "We got him. Augustus Kane is in custody. He had a gun with a silencer, zip ties, and a whole murder kit in his car. He was definitely here to kill you both." "Is anyone hurt?" I asked. "One of our officers took a bullet in his vest. He's fine, just bruised. Kane got shot in the leg trying to escape. He'll live to face trial." We went downstairs. Through the window, I could see Augustus Kane being loaded into an ambulance, handcuffed and bleeding. He was a large, scary-looking man with cold eyes. The kind of man who killed people for money and didn't think twice about it. That's who Thaddeus had sent to murder me. Again. "What happens now?" I asked Detective Brooks. "Now we charge Thaddeus with 2 more counts of solicitation of murder. And we charge him with conspiracy to murder Opal as well. With her testimony and Cornelius's testimony and Augustus Kane's testimony, he's already agreed to cooperate in exchange for a lighter sentence. Thaddeus is looking at multiple life sentences." "He's never getting out of prison," I said softly. "No, he's not. And honestly, Mavis, after everything he's done, that's exactly where he belongs." The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, depositions, and preparing for trial. Opal kept her word. She testified to everything. Every crime, every illegal transaction, every manipulation. She held nothing back. And slowly, the full picture of Thaddeus's criminal life emerged. He'd been embezzling from clients for 12 years, not 8 like we originally thought. He'd stolen over $3 million, not 2. He'd bribed city officials, falsified tax documents, and created shell companies to hide his wealth. He'd had affairs with at least 9 women, not just Opal. And he'd been planning to kill me for 5 years, ever since he took out that first secret life insurance policy on me. The trial started in February, 3 months after the night Augustus Kane tried to kill me and Opal. I sat in that courtroom every single day, watching as witness after witness testified about Thaddeus's crimes. His clients testified about the money he stole. His secretary testified about the fake documents he created. Silas Cromwell testified about being hired to stab me. Cornelius Banks testified about the second murder plot. Augustus Kane testified about being paid to kill both me and Opal. And Opal testified. For 3 full days, she sat on that witness stand and told the jury everything. About the affair, about the embezzlement, about the abuse, about Thaddeus's plan to murder me and collect the insurance money. Thaddeus's lawyer tried to paint her as a liar, a gold digger, a woman scorned. But the jury didn't buy it. They could see she was telling the truth. When it was my turn to testify, I walked to that witness stand with my head held high. I looked directly at Thaddeus as the prosecutor asked me questions. Mrs. Henderson, when did you first suspect your husband was trying to kill you? When my medication was tampered with. When I started having symptoms that weren't normal. When my doctor told me I was taking 3 times the correct dose of a dangerous drug. And what did you do? I started paying attention, watching him, documenting everything, because I knew if I didn't gather proof, no one would believe me. Why didn't you just leave him? Because I was scared, because he controlled all our money, because he'd been manipulating me for so long that I wasn't sure I could trust my own judgment, and because I looked directly at Thaddeus. Because I'd spent 42 years of my life with this man. I'd loved him, trusted him, built a life with him, and some part of me kept hoping I was wrong, that the man I married was still in there somewhere. And is he still in there? I looked at Thaddeus, really looked at him, at his cold eyes, his emotionless face, the complete lack of remorse or guilt. No, I said quietly. If he was ever the man I thought I married, that man died a long time ago. What's sitting at that defense table is a monster who wears my husband's face. The prosecutor nodded. No further questions. Thaddeus's lawyer stood up for cross-examination. He tried to make me look vindictive, bitter, vengeful. Tried to suggest I'd made everything up because I was angry about the affairs. But I stayed calm, answered every question truthfully. And when he was done, the jury looked at me with sympathy and respect. After 6 weeks of testimony, the case went to the jury. They deliberated for 8 hours. When they came back, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty. On all counts. Conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, solicitation of murder, embezzlement, fraud, money laundering, witness tampering. Guilty, guilty, guilty. The judge scheduled sentencing for 3 weeks later. On the day of sentencing, the courtroom was packed. Thaddeus's victims filled the gallery, the clients he'd stolen from, the women he'd manipulated, the people whose lives he'd destroyed. The judge looked at Thaddeus with disgust. Mr. Henderson, in my 30 years on the bench, I have rarely encountered someone as calculating, cruel, and remorseless as you. You stole from people who trusted you. You abused women who loved you. And you tried to murder your own wife, not once but 3 times for money and convenience. She paused, letting the words sink in. You showed no mercy to your victims, so I will show no mercy to you. I sentence you to 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 50 years for the financial crimes. You will spend the rest of your natural life in prison, Mr. Henderson, and that is exactly what you deserve. Thaddeus didn't react, just sat there blank-faced as if none of this was real. But as they led him away in chains, he looked at me one final time. And what I saw in his eyes wasn't remorse or regret. It was rage, pure, burning hatred. He would never forgive me for surviving, for exposing him, for destroying the life he thought he'd so cleverly built. Good. I hoped he spent every day of his life sentences remembering the wife he couldn't kill. After the sentencing, Opal approached me outside the courthouse. Her baby was due in 2 weeks. Mrs. Henderson, Mavis, can I talk to you for a minute? Of course. We walked to a quiet corner, away from the reporters and cameras. I wanted to thank you, Opal said, for testifying on my behalf at my sentencing hearing. The judge gave me 5 years of probation instead of prison time because you asked for leniency. After everything I did to you, you still showed me mercy. Why? I thought about it. Because you were a victim too, and because you chose to do the right thing in the end. You could have stayed silent, but you didn't. You helped put Thaddeus away. That took courage. I'm so sorry, Opal whispered. For everything, for the affair, for helping him steal, for being part of the plan to hurt you. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for what I did. Then start by being a good mother to that baby, I said gently. Break the cycle. Don't let your child grow up around the kind of person Thaddeus was. I won't, I promise. Opal hesitated. Can I ask you something? How did you survive? How did you stay strong through all of this? I stayed strong because I had people who loved me. My daughter, my friends. even strangers like Detective Brooks who fought for me. And I stayed strong because I refused to let Thaddeus win. Refused to let him take my life, my dignity, my future. Sometimes, Opal, the only way to survive is to decide that you absolutely will not let the people who hurt you win. Opal nodded, tears in her eyes. Thank you for everything. She walked away, and I watched her go, hoping she really would build a better life. That night, Clementine and I went back to the house, my house. The house Thaddeus and I had shared for 40 years. The house where he'd tried to kill me. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a museum of a life that no longer existed. What are you going to do with it? Clementine asked. Sell it, I can't live here anymore. Too many memories, too much pain. Where will you go? I smiled. I'm thinking about buying a little house near you, something small and cozy, somewhere I can start fresh, build a new life. I'd love that, Mama. We walked through the rooms one last time. As we did, I realized something. I'd spent 42 years in this house being Thaddeus Henderson's wife, being defined by my relationship to him, being small and quiet and obedient. But that woman was gone. She died the night she was stabbed in her own kitchen. The woman who survived, the woman I'd become, was stronger, braver, more herself than she'd ever been. Thaddeus had thought I would die quietly, thought I would disappear without a fight. Instead, I'd fought back, exposed him, destroyed the empire he'd built on lies and crimes. I'd knocked on his door when he thought I was dead, and his knees had buckled beneath him. And now, while he rotted in a prison cell for the rest of his life, I was free. Finally, truly free. But just as we were about to leave the house for the last time, my phone rang. It was Detective Brooks. Mavis, we have a problem. You need to come to the station right away. What's wrong now? There was a pause, then Thaddeus escaped. My blood turned to ice. What do you mean he escaped? During transport to the federal prison, the van was ambushed. 3 guards were shot. Thaddeus and 2 other prisoners got away. Mavis, I'm sending officers to you right now. You're in danger. He's coming for you. I dropped the phone. Thaddeus was free, and he was coming to finish what he started. No way, Thaddeus escaped. If you're screaming right now, you're not alone. Smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? And what do you think happens next? Clementine grabbed my arm. Mama, we have to go. We have to leave right now. But I couldn't move, couldn't think. Thaddeus was free. After everything, the trial, the conviction, the life sentences, he was out there somewhere, hunting me. My phone rang again. Detective Brooks. I picked it up with shaking hands. Mavis, listen to me carefully. Officers are 2 minutes away from your location. Lock all the doors and windows. Get to a room with only one entrance, preferably upstairs. Do not answer the door for anyone except me or uniformed officers who show you their badges through a window. Do you understand? Yes, my voice didn't sound like my own. Good. Stay on the line with me until the officers arrive. Clementine and I ran through the house, locking every door, every window. We went upstairs to my old bedroom, the room I'd shared with Thaddeus for 40 years, and locked that door too. We pushed the dresser in front of it, just like we'd done before. History repeating itself. Except this time, Thaddeus wasn't just planning to kill me. He was desperate, cornered, with nothing left to lose. Officers are pulling up now, Detective Brooks said. They're securing the perimeter. You're safe for the moment. But Mavis, we need to move you to a secure location. Thaddeus knows where you live. He knows your routines. He'll come here eventually. How did he escape? You said he was being transported to federal prison. The transport van was ambushed on Highway 85. Professional job, multiple shooters, blocked roads, smoke grenades. They shot 3 guards before breaking Thaddeus and 2 other prisoners out. One of the guards is in critical condition. Who would do that? Who would help him escape? We don't know yet, but Mavis, it had to cost a lot of money. Someone with serious resources planned this. We're investigating, but right now, our priority is keeping you safe. Through the window, I could see police cars surrounding the house, officers with rifles taking positions. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. A uniformed officer knocked on the front door. "Mrs. Henderson, it's Officer Jasper Williams. I'm here to escort you to a safe location. Please come downstairs." Detective Brooks confirmed through the phone that Officer Williams was legitimate. Clementine and I moved the dresser, unlocked the door, and went downstairs. Officer Williams was a large man with kind eyes. "Ma'am, we're going to take you to a secure facility. Your daughter will come with you. Pack a bag, just essentials. We need to move fast." I grabbed a few clothes, my medications, important documents. Clementine did the same. Within 10 minutes, we were in a police car, speeding away from the house. They took us to a building downtown, an FBI safe house, they called it. It was a nondescript office building on the 3rd floor, with reinforced doors, security cameras, and armed guards. "You'll stay here until we catch Thaddeus," Detective Brooks explained. She'd met us at the safe house. "We have every law enforcement agency in the state looking for him. He won't stay free for long." But hours passed, then days, and there was no sign of Thaddeus. It was like he'd vanished into thin air. On the 3rd day, Detective Brooks came to the safe house with new information. Her face was grave. "We found out who funded Thaddeus's escape. You're not going to believe this." "Who?" "Opal's family. Specifically her father, a man named Horace Whitmore. Turns out, Horace is much wealthier than anyone knew. Made his fortune in real estate and has connections to some very questionable people. When Opal was arrested and agreed to testify against Thaddeus, Horace was furious. Blamed Thaddeus for getting his daughter mixed up in criminal activity." "So why would he help Thaddeus escape?" I asked, confused. "Because Horace blames you too. In his mind, you're the one who destroyed his daughter's life. If you hadn't survived, if you hadn't prosecuted Thaddeus, Opal would be living happily with her baby instead of on probation and marked as a criminal. Horace funded the escape on one condition, that Thaddeus kills you before he disappears forever." My stomach dropped. "Does Opal know about this?" "We don't think so. We've had her in protective custody since we found out about her father's involvement. She's devastated." "Where's Horace now?" "In custody. We arrested him this morning for conspiracy to commit escape and conspiracy to commit murder, but the damage is already done. Thaddeus is out there, funded and armed with one goal: killing you." Clementine, who'd been quiet through all of this, suddenly spoke up. "This has to end. Mama can't live like this forever, hiding, scared, always looking over her shoulder. We need to draw him out. End this once and for all." "What are you suggesting?" Detective Brooks asked. "We use Mama as bait. Again. But this time we don't just catch him. We make sure he can never threaten her again." Detective Brooks shook her head. "Too dangerous. We nearly lost Mavis the last time we tried that." "But it worked," Clementine argued. "We caught Augustus Kane. We got the evidence we needed. And we can do it again." I listened to my daughter fighting for me, and I made a decision. "She's right," I said. "We can't keep hiding. Thaddeus will find me eventually. He's too determined, too well-funded now. Better to control when and where it happens." "Mavis." "No, Detective. I've made up my mind. Let's set a trap. But this time, let's make it impossible for him to escape." It took 2 days to plan. We decided to use the house, my house, as the location. We'd let word leak that I'd returned home, that I was alone, vulnerable. "Thaddeus has people watching the house," Detective Brooks explained. "Whoever helped him escape is probably still helping him. If we make it look like you're back home with minimal police presence, he'll take the bait." "And when he does?" I asked. "We'll have sharpshooters positioned all around. SWAT team in the houses on either side. Unmarked cars on every street. The moment he shows up, we'll have him surrounded. He won't get within 50 feet of you." "What if he sends someone else, like he did before?" "Then we catch that person and use them to find Thaddeus. Either way, we win." Clementine wanted to be there with me, but I absolutely refused. "You have a husband and a life to get back to, baby. This is my fight, not yours." You're my mother. That makes it my fight, too. No, you've already risked enough for me. I won't let you risk any more. We argued, but eventually Clementine agreed to stay at the safe house while I went to the house alone. The night of the operation, I drove to my house in an unmarked car. From the outside, it looked like I was alone, like I'd foolishly returned home by myself. But in reality, I had 50 law enforcement officers watching my every move. I went inside, turned on the lights, made it look like I was settling in for the night, made coffee in the kitchen, the same kitchen where Silas Cromwell had stabbed me 4 months ago. So much had happened since that night, so much pain and fear and fighting. But tonight it would end, one way or another. I waited. 8 p.m. became 9, 9 became 10, 10 became 11. Nothing. Maybe he's not coming, I said into the wire I was wearing. Give it time, Detective Brooks responded through my earpiece. He's careful. He'll wait until he thinks you're asleep, vulnerable. At midnight, I pretended to go upstairs to bed, turned off most of the lights, left just a bedroom lamp on so watchers would know which room I was in. Then I waited in the dark, sitting on my bed, listening to every sound. At 1:15 a.m., I heard it, the soft click of the back door opening. Someone was in the house. My heart started pounding. Through my earpiece, I heard Detective Brooks. We have movement. Subject entering through the back door. Hold your position, Mavis. Do not engage. I stayed frozen on the bed, barely breathing. Footsteps on the stairs. Slow, careful, creeping up toward the bedroom. The footsteps stopped outside my bedroom door. Then the door opened. Thaddeus stood there, silhouetted in the doorway. He was wearing all black, holding a knife, a big hunting knife that gleamed in the dim light from my bedside lamp. We stared at each other for a long moment. "Hello, Mavis," he said quietly. "Did you really think you could hide from me?" I stood up slowly. I wasn't hiding, Thaddeus. I was waiting. He smiled, that cold, cruel smile I'd come to know so well. Waiting for what? For you to make your final mistake. Thaddeus laughed. You think you're so clever, you think you've won. But you're alone in this house, Mavis, alone with me. And this time there's no police coming to save you, no surprise rescue, just you and me and this knife. You're wrong, I said calmly. I'm not alone, I'm never alone. What are you talking about? I pulled out the wire I was wearing, showing him. Every word you've said has been recorded, and there are 50 police officers surrounding this house right now. You walked right into a trap, Thaddeus. His face changed from confident to confused to horrified in seconds. You did this. You set me up. Just like you set me up. How does it feel, Thaddeus? How does it feel to be the one who's trapped? He raised the knife. Then I'll just have to kill you before they get here. He lunged at me. But I was ready. I'd been ready for this moment for months. I dove to the side as the bedroom door burst open. SWAT officers poured in, screaming, "Drop the weapon! Drop it now!" Thaddeus spun around, knife still in hand. Stay back, or I'll kill her." "You're surrounded, Thaddeus," Detective Brooks's voice came from the hallway. "There's nowhere to go. Put down the knife." Thaddeus looked around wildly, seeing officers blocking every exit. He looked at me, and in his eyes, I saw something I'd never seen before. Defeat, complete and total defeat. He knew it was over, really over this time. Slowly, his hand lowered. The knife dropped to the floor. "Get on your knees, hands behind your head." Thaddeus dropped to his knees, just like he had the night I knocked on his door. Just like when he realized I was alive when he thought I was dead. And as the officers handcuffed him, as they dragged him to his feet, he looked at me one last time. "I should have killed you when I had the chance," he said. "Yes," I agreed. "You should have, but you didn't. You thought I would die quietly. You thought I was weak. You underestimated me, Thaddeus, and that was your biggest mistake." They led him away. Down the stairs, out the door, into a police car that would take him back to prison, this time to a maximum security facility where escapes were impossible. I stood in my bedroom, the bedroom where I'd slept next to this man for 40 years. and I felt the weight of everything finally lift off my shoulders. It was over, really, truly over. 3 months later, I stood in front of my new house. A small, cozy cottage 2 streets away from Clementine's home. A fresh start, a new beginning. Thaddeus was back in prison, this time with additional charges. Escape, attempted murder again, home invasion, assault on federal officers. He'd been transferred to a supermax prison in Colorado where he'd spend 23 hours a day in solitary confinement. He would never see the outside world again. Horace Whitmore, Opal's father, had been sentenced to 20 years for his role in the escape. The people he'd hired to break Thaddeus out were all in custody as well. Opal had given birth to a baby girl. She'd named her Grace. "Because that's what you showed me," she told me when she brought the baby to visit. "Grace I didn't deserve, and I want my daughter to grow up knowing what real grace looks like." I'd started attending a support group for domestic violence survivors, sharing my story, helping other women who were going through what I'd been through. And I'd started dating. Nothing serious, just coffee with a nice man named Elwood who I'd met at church. He made me laugh, made me feel young again, made me remember that not all men were monsters like Thaddeus. Clementine came over almost every day. We'd cook together, watch movies, talk about everything and nothing. We were rebuilding our relationship, making up for all the years Thaddeus's presence had cast a shadow over it. One evening, as Clementine and I sat on my new porch watching the sunset, she asked me a question. "Mama, do you regret it? Fighting back instead of just leaving when you first found out what Daddy was doing?" I thought about it for a long moment. No, because if I just left, he would have gotten away with everything. The embezzlement, the abuse, the affairs. He would have gone on to hurt other people, other women. By fighting back, by exposing him, I didn't just save myself. I saved everyone he might have hurt in the future. "You're a hero, Mama." "I'm not a hero. I'm just a woman who refused to die quietly." We sat in comfortable silence as the sun went down. And for the first time in years, maybe decades, I felt at peace. Thaddeus had thought he could kill me, thought he could erase me from his life like I'd never existed. But when I knocked on his door that night, when his knees buckled beneath him as he realized I was alive, he learned a lesson he'd never forget. You can't destroy a woman who refuses to be destroyed. You can't silence a voice that demands to be heard. You can't kill someone who's already decided to survive. I was Mavis Henderson. I was 66 years old, and I was finally free to live the life I'd always deserved. A life without fear, without abuse, without a man who saw me as an obstacle instead of a partner. A life that was completely, beautifully, powerfully my own. And nothing, not Thaddeus, not his crimes, not his attempts on my life, could ever take that away from me again. Wow, what a journey Mavis took us on. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you believe in the power of survival, we need you to do something right now. 1, smash that like button. 2, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We share powerful, emotional stories like this every single day. 3, turn on all notifications so you never miss our next incredible story. 4, comment below and tell us. Where are you watching from? USA, UK, Canada, Jamaica, South Africa, Australia. We want to know our global family. What did you think of Mavis's story? Was she a hero? Have you or someone you know faced domestic violence? You're not alone, and there is help available. What story should we tell next? Share this video with someone who needs to hear Mavis's message. Share it with women who need to know they're stronger than they think. Share it with anyone who's ever been told they're too old, too weak, or too broken to fight back. Thank you for being part of our community. From every corner of the world, USA, UK, South Africa, Kenya, Jamaica, Canada, Trinidad, Barbados, and beyond, we see you, we appreciate you, and we love you. Remember Mavis's words. You can't destroy a woman who refuses to be destroyed. Stay strong, stay blessed, and never ever give up.